Hello everyone, and welcome to my channel. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Before we begin, please hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. According to General Hospital spoilers, Willow Kane could be spotted leaving town with Amelia and Wiley Corinthos. The General Hospital preview for the week of July 27th to 31st has an intriguing scene in which Willow is scrambling on the floor in her home. It appears that she is hunting for something or packing, but it is difficult to determine what she is doing exactly. The atmosphere is dark, and she hears a knock at the door, which startles her and makes her seem scared. According to the weekly preview video, the person who opens the door and steps in is Scout Kane. Drew's daughter walks through a door and says, "Dad." This will prevent Willow from fleeing town with her children, as Scout appears to be reporting the dreadful news of Drew's accident. During the Friday, July 24th episode, Willow was instructed to pack up her belongings, as well as Wiley and Amelia's, and leave Port Charles. Jack Brennan assured Willow that he would organize an aircraft to transport her and her children out of PC, complete with fake IDs, to avoid Drew Kane's fury. After all, Willow had officially run out of the paralytic medicine that had kept Drew locked in, and as he began to regain mobility, the time was ticking for the mother of two. Brennan had given up hope on finding the black case containing all of the material Willow might use to blackmail Drew, and the Congresswoman was running out of time. Of course, Valentine Cassadine appeared moments later on the July 24th performance, carrying the aforementioned black box. He was trying to make a deal with Brennan. He would return his black box if the WSB would unfreeze his financial accounts. Fortunately, Brennan will have the information he needs to keep Drew quiet, but he may be too preoccupied to inform Willow, given what Nina Reeves did on Friday's show. Nina was stunned after receiving a phone call from Willow near the end of the episode on July 24th. Willow frantically told her mother that she and the kids were leaving Port Charles permanently. Willow offered her mother a spot to accompany them, which made Nina fear. She did not want to lose her daughter or grandchildren, but she has established a life in PC. As a result, Nina made an impulsive decision to shove Drew into the lake when he spoke to her in an attempt to save Willow from leaving. According to the GH Weekly Preview, Nina will seek Brennan's assistance in concealing what she has done, thus these two will be far too distracted with the Drew in the lake problem to recall that Willow is at home packing her belongings to leave town permanently. Nina and Brennan will also have to deal with Giovanni Gio Palmieri's plans to save and rescue Drew, which is a delicate scenario. Still, as Willow gathers her possessions and children to leave town, someone will undoubtedly catch the woman in the act. Could it be Michael Corinthos? If he finds Willow packing their kids and hasn't been notified, he'll stop her in her tracks. As a result, the person who discovers Willow is leaving town will be controversial, albeit without power. What about Elizabeth Liz Baldwin? She's Willow's friend who has recently been doubting her mother's activities, so seeing Willow scramble with luggage may make Liz worry what she's up to. However, someone like Kai Taylor would have the same reaction but be unable to do anything about it. Willow will most likely offer a weekend break to anybody she meets, but it will still appear highly suspicious given her stressed mood and whatnot. According to General Hospital spoilers, the good news for Willow is that she will not have to relocate to uncharted territory after all, since Brennan will reclaim Valentine's black case. But this does not mean she will not be on someone's radar when it comes to shady dealings. CDL is your one-stop shop for all the latest General Hospital spoilers and news, so consider us your go-to source for anything GH. Willow Kane is once again at the center of a high-stakes drama that has the potential to upend several lives in the ever-changing world of Port Charles, where secrets fester like untreated wounds and loyalty shifts faster than the wind off the bay. Recent discoveries have put the young mother in an unenviable situation, forcing her to weigh her children's safety against the eroding foundation of the life she has established with Drew Kane. What began as a desperate struggle for control has escalated into a frantic escape plot that includes packing up Wiley and Amelia and fleeing the only home the children have ever known. However, just as the pieces appear to be falling into place, an unexpected arrival threatens to derail progress. Drew's daughter, Scout Kane, appears set to disrupt Willow's flight at the most vital moment, turning a perfectly arranged escape into a showdown fraught with emotional and legal ramifications. The seeds of this tragedy were planted weeks ago, when Willow's reliance on a hazardous secret reached a breaking point. For months, She had kept Drew in a condition of physical paralysis by administering carefully calculated doses of a paralytic medication. The arrangement allowed her to keep some control in an increasingly tense marriage, insulating her from the full brunt of his political ambitions and personal volatility. But supplies ran out. With no more of the medicine accessible and Drew exhibiting early symptoms of regaining mobility, the window for sustaining the status quo was reduced to a perilous sliver. Jack Brennan, the WSB operative whose own interests had become entwined with Willow's, grasped the importance. He appeared to be offering Willow and the two children a lifeline, an aircraft, new identities, and a fresh start away from Port Charles. The proposition wasn't made lightly. Brennan had been looking for a black case holding evidence that would have provided Willow long-term leverage on Drew. When that search failed, the escape plan became the only realistic alternative remaining. Willow, already torn from the relentless pressure of lying and the realization that disclosure would cost her everything, agreed. She began the quiet, frenetic process of acquiring necessary supplies, preparing Wiley and Amelia for a journey whose true purpose she could never completely express to them. The youngsters, who were still young enough to accept a sudden trip without question, were mostly ignorant of the tempest brewing around them. Amelia's kind presence and Wiley's more vigilant gaze would quickly become essential to the unfolding tension. Friday's episode set the tone with terrifying precision. Willow received final instructions. Pack the children's belongings. Be ready. Leave no tracks that could be easily followed. Yet, even as she prepared, other forces were already at work. Willow's mother, Nina Reeves, received a frantic phone call describing their escape plot and an invitation to join them. The news hit Nina like a physical punch. The prospect of losing her daughter and grandkids forever contrasted with the life she had meticulously established in Port Charles. Nina shoved Drew's wheelchair into the lake near the boathouse out of sheer panic, rather than calculation. The immediate aftermath of that decision, Drew's probable rescue by Gio Palmieri, the scurry to conceal tracks, Brennan's split attention, created the exact window of distraction that may have allowed Willow to slip away unnoticed. But Port Charles rarely provides clean exits. The weekly peek depicts Willow on the floor of her home, scurrying in the dim light, the air dense with hurry and panic. A knock at the door freezes her. The person who enters is neither Michael Corinthos, Elizabeth Baldwin, or any of the grown-ups who would have the authority or desire to stop her. It's Scout. Drew's kid walks in and says one word that holds the weight of everything Willow has been attempting to avoid. Dad. The consequences of that moment are immense. Scout has been navigating her own hard relationship with the blended family. She has expressed affection for Willow, even suggesting calling her mom in quieter moments, while maintaining the fierce allegiance of a kid who recalls her father's power before the stroke that altered everything. To walk into the house and find Willow packing, luggage open, and the air imbued with the unmistakable energy of flight would require Scout to digest numerous realizations at the same time. Her father is in danger or has already been injured. The woman she has come to trust is about to leave with the younger children. And the meticulously crafted story of family stability is unraveling in real time. Willow's reaction in that moment can only be described as a series of opposing instincts. The maternal instinct to protect Wiley and Amelia remains strong, but Scout's abrupt appearance adds a new element of moral complexity. Does she try to incorporate Scout in the escape, risking further complexities and the girls' possible resistance? Does she try to justify the packing as something innocent like a weekend getaway or a temporary relocation, despite Scout's keen observing abilities making deceit difficult? Or does the shock of discovery simply freeze her in place, allowing the greater machinery of Port Charles, police, family, and the WSB's lingering reach to close in? The presence of children heightens the importance of each decision. Wiley, who is old enough to detect undercurrents even if he cannot name them, has already developed a complex relationship to both his biological father Michael and the life he has shared with Willow and Drew. Amelia, yet small, exemplifies sheer vulnerability. Any attempt to remove children from the jurisdiction without sufficient legal permission risks charges of parental kidnapping, which would undermine Willow's residual credibility in the eyes of the court and the community. Scout's appearance transforms a private decision into a witnessed event, leaving an immediate record that cannot be readily erased. Beyond the immediate conflict, a web of subsequent repercussions emerges. Michael Corinthos, who is still dealing with the aftermath of his marriage and continuing custody battles, would very probably see any attempt to flee with the children as the ultimate betrayal. Carly Corinthos, never one to be passive when her family is endangered, would use every resource at her disposal. Elizabeth Baldwin, who has already questioned Willow's delays in establishing Drew's communication equipment, would see the packing as indication of a wider deception. Even allies like Nina, who is currently focused with covering up her own impetuous conduct, will be compelled to reconsider their positions once Scout's revelation is made public. Brennan's involvement introduces another explosive factor. Valentine Cassidy now has the black case he sought, which he is offering as leverage for the unfreezing of assets. If Brennan obtains the evidence in time, the original reason for Willow's flight disappears. However, the timing of Scout's interruption may make that development unimportant. A child who has saw the suitcases and heard the frenzied energy cannot simply be informed that the plan has been cancelled. The information itself becomes a source of power, which Scout may or may not choose to wield depending on where her allegiance lie in the chaotic hours that follow. The story's emotional architecture is strengthened by the clash of contending loves. Willow's love for her children has always been real, even if her tactics were questionable. The paralytic plot, the political maneuvering, the readiness to accept Brennan's harsh solution. All of this might be interpreted as the actions of a mother who believes the alternative is worse. Scout's affection for her father, which is still raw and protective, draws her inside the house at the very wrong time for Willow's plans. Nina's love for her daughter and grandkids drives her to violence against the guy she believes stands between them. Drew's goals and potential for vengeance hover over the entire scene like a thunder cloud that has yet to clear. The lack of obvious villains adds to the story's allure. Willow is not just calculating. She is cornered. Scout is not simply disruptive. She is a child looking for connection and truth. Nina is not acting recklessly. She is a mother responding to the fear of permanent separation. Even Brennan operates in a hazy area between institutional self-interest and personal calculation. The authors have created a pressure cooker in which each character's best intentions, or at least the most understandable ones, add to the possibility of greater harm. As the week of July 27th progresses, the major concern is not whether Willow is successful in fleeing, but whose version of the truth survives the confrontation with Scout. Will the girl accept a rushed explanation and remain silent, at least temporarily? Will she insist to talk with her father, resulting in the revelation of Nina's conduct at the lake? Will she approach other adults, triggering a chain reaction that drags the police, courts, and the whole Corinthos and Quartermain families into the living room before Willow can close a single suitcase? The actual logistics of the escape were already perilous. Fake identities take time to form. Even a private plane requires cooperation, which might be disrupted by a single phone call. When children's routines are disrupted, it is unreasonable to expect them to stay quiet or docile indefinitely. Scout's presence introduces an unpredictable variable that no amount of preparation can entirely account for. A teenager or a child on the verge of adolescence, who has previously suffered major loss and turmoil, is unlikely to accept a sudden departure without protest or examination. There is also the issue of Drew's condition. The severity of the reckoning will be determined by whether Geo is successful in removing him from the water, whether the exposure to the lake creates more medical complications, and whether Drew regains enough cognitive clarity to grasp what has happened to him. If Scout's interruption buys enough time for Drew's position to stabilize and the black case to return to Brennan's custody, Willow may find herself with more power but less trust. The folks around her will have witnessed the packing. They will have witnessed the terror. Those pictures do not fade quickly in a town that relies on remembrance and suspicion. The larger picture of Port Charles is still changing in response to the domestic turmoil. Valentine's negotiations with Brennan over the black case, Jocelyn's probing queries regarding confidential materials, the ongoing tensions at the hospital between Britt and Elizabeth, Jason's efforts to comfort Rocco. All of these threads are still active. However, the image of Willow on the floor, startled by the sound of the door, and Scout entering the frame with a single phrase about her father captures the human cost of the greater games being played. Political blackmail, institutional cover-ups, and impulsive violence are eventually resolved into the smaller, more intimate drama of a mother attempting to protect her children and a daughter attempting to defend her father. Finally, the success or failure of Willow's flight may be less important than the emotional damage it leaves behind. Wiley and Amelia will absorb the tension, regardless of whether they comprehend its cause. Scout will recall walking into a house mid-escape and understanding that the grown-ups she relies on are capable of drastic, covert action. Willow will have to confront the fact that her meticulously crafted scheme was undone not by a rival or an investigator, but by a child who simply returned home asking for her father. And as always, Port Charles will continue to turn, swallowing the latest scandal into its never-ending cycle of revelation, consequence, and uneasy coexistence. The upcoming episodes promise to examine these fault lines with the same relentless pacing that has defined the show's previous storytelling. It is unclear if Scout's intervention will result in an instant clash, a delayed discovery, or an unforeseen partnership. What is clearly evident is that Willow's desire to depart has revealed the fragility of every relationship she has attempted to maintain. In a town based on secrets, the most hazardous moment is often not concealing the secret, but when a child walks through the door and brings the truth to light. Sometimes. She paused. But people help more. Those simple words struck everyone in the room. Even Jason appeared emotional. Children frequently glimpse truths that adults disregard. There's no legal plan. There is no custody agreement. No dramatic speech. Just a reminder that people, not distance, may mend shattered hearts. Dante arrived outside after getting rumors of a potential parental abduction. He entered cautiously. "Is everything all right?" Michael asked, nodding. "I think it will be," Dante said, looking at Willow. "Nobody wants to arrest anyone today." She bowed her head. "I know. We just want these kids safe." "They are." "I believe you." The mood gradually changed. The emergency was fading. The emotional damage, however, persisted. Later that evening, everyone met in the Quartermain living room. There were no lawyers. There are no judges. There are no accusations. Only weary family members are attempting to prevent another calamity. Monica encouraged everyone to listen rather than dispute. Olivia felt that Wiley and Amelia deserved stability above all else. Tracy startled everyone by advocating restraint rather than vengeance. "This family has enough enemies," she stated forcefully. "We don't need to become our own." The words echoed around the room. Willow apologized for terrifying everyone. She stated that she had not considered all the consequences. She'd been so focused on escape that she'd forgotten how much the youngsters cared about those around them. Michael apologized as well. He stated that winning debates had overshadowed his comprehension of Willow's anxieties. Neither apology erased the past, but they made something considerably more valuable. A beginning. Scout sat quietly by Wiley as the adults continued to talk. "Are we staying?" Wiley muttered. "I think so." "I'm glad." "Me too." Amelia slept soundly, utterly ignorant that her life was about to change forever. Willow stepped outside alone as darkness fell in Port Charles. Jason joined her. "Are you okay?" "I'm not sure." "You made the right decision." "I nearly didn't." Jason nodded toward the home. "Sometimes heroes don't stop villains." She looked perplexed. "They prevent their loved ones from making mistakes." Willow immediately thought of Scout. A tiny girl with honest eyes and tremendous courage had avoided a sad goodbye. Willow would have been miles away if Scout hadn't entered that house at the proper time. Instead, she still had the opportunity to fix what was broken. It would not happen overnight. Trust would have to be rebuilt. Co-parenting would remain complicated. Family wounds will not heal just because one tragedy passed. But there was hope. Real hope. Inside the house, Scout proudly exhibited Wiley Amelia's favorite toy, while Carly observed with an appreciative smile. Michael gazed at Willow through the window. Their future remained unknown. However, for the first time in weeks, neither of them was running. Across Port Charles, news traveled quietly that Willow had almost left town with the children before changing her mind at the last moment. Rumors would definitely circulate, opinions would be formed, and new issues would emerge in the coming days. This was Port Charles, after all, and calm rarely lasted long. Still, people closest to the family recognized that something significant had occurred. A tragedy was prevented not as a result of a court order or a smart legal move, but because a youngster followed her intuition and spoke up when something felt wrong. Scout's bravery reminded everyone that even the smallest members of the family may influence the outcome of events. Her simple decision to make a single phone call reunited a family before it became too late. Willow's journey ahead would not be simple. She still had to deal with unpleasant conversations, terrible memories, and the ramifications of almost leaving with Amelia and Wiley. Instead of facing those problems alone in a foreign place, she would face them with individuals who, despite their shortcomings, sincerely cared about the children. As the lights dimmed throughout the Quartermain estate, Scout grinned to herself. She didn't set out to be a hero that day. She merely wanted to find a forgotten stuffed animal. Instead, she saved a complete family from making a decision they would have regretted for the rest of their lives.